Well, hello there. Been a while, ain't it, folks? Well, I know I look kind of messed up. I've been doing some stuff today. Got me a little tired, so I may look messed up. Yes, my hat is backwards, and yes, I have my face a little bit different than I did before, but well, it's still me. Anyway, point is, don't you love it when you finally decide you want to? Okay, sometime back, I had went to a church. Yes, I go to church, and I went to a church and I liked it and everything, but doing them sales I told you about, me and my mom, if you don't know, ask me about it and I'll tell you. Doing the sales we do, there was some people that went out there that would play some gospel music. And I got to liking it. So they said that one of the guys in the group was the preacher of a church in my hometown. And that if I want to, I should check him out. So I finally decided to do it. So after I checked him out, then I happened to like what was going on. And this might get me in trouble with some people because it's come to my attention that there are people out there who basically would love to show up wherever I am and make a scene to where everybody that respected me in those places would turn from me and go to their side and say, it's sort of like a modern day Star Wars story. I'm like Luke Skywalker in this story, and I have either one or more Darth Vaders in my life, and they would love to try to get people to turn to their side and say, leave me, which is the Luke Skywalker in the story, alone, because all it was that I just basically turned away from some folks who deserved me doing so, and that's it. That's all it was. Basically, was that I turned away from some folks who basically didn't need me in their life anymore, and they couldn't handle the fact that I just had to leave them alone. And so that's why I know that if these people knew where I was going to church, and they'd be there too, trying to start something. But anyway, point goes like this. If you happen to know where I'm from and want to come to my church, ask me individually, because if I tell you out loud, all I'm going to get is a horde of folks going up there basically saying how bad I am. Now you might say, is that true or is it one or two? Well, I say it like this so that if you code things a certain way, you can basically weed out the problems. But I'm trying to be honest and love the Lord. But anyway, I don't know. Anyway, the story goes like this. Don't you love it when you got family and friends who basically take upon themselves to say, hey, I think I'll stay somewhere for so long, and if these people are watching what I'm saying, I'm sorry, but you pretty much caused me to say this right now. But I have someone I know of, whether it be family or friends, I'm not going to mention names, but let's just say people I know of. That's what their name is going to be for now. People I know of. I know of a guy who has a house who basically he got it from his father, and his father is now dead, and I knew his father too for that matter, and he basically took and supposedly rented out the house to another person I know of who is connected to the owner of the house. And the owner of the house, remember, if you think back, is the son of the original owner. But the original owner is now dead, so the son inherited his father's house. So now the son is the owner of the house. Okay, so he rented out the house, and basically what happened was when he did, the people that rented it said they'd be there for a year, Well, actually, they stayed a year. They said a month, but they stayed a year. That's really correct it all up. They said we'll only be here a year because we have a house or a trailer in another town nearby that we're going to try to get and own. So the point went that they stayed longer than a month, and they stayed like a year, and the the guy that has the house now, he basically he was up there trying to fix part of the house because it was falling apart and things like that was going wrong with it. Well, the ceiling, in the old days, some of these houses they didn't really put like. Let me see if I can get it. Well, basically, what really happened was that the in the old days, the old houses didn't have a roof. They had like ceiling tile, and they had a roof. But see, it was like, here's your roof, and here's your ceiling tile. Here's your roof. Now, between the ceiling tile and the roof, there's just like open air, nothing there. It's just like open air. So there's room for anything to go on up there. You got nothing but beams and air and ceiling tile and roof. No insulation, nothing. Nothing. Anyway, point was, the guy that owned the place bought, you probably seen one of those pumps that you get from the store that you attach like nail guns to, like them compressors or whatever. Anyway, the motors that you use to, excuse me, to run them with. So when the renters that we know of rented the place, they said that got, basically they said that the thing got stolen, and then yet now they're saying that they found it, and it's basically what's out there in the yard of that house with the top off and pieces missing. So I don't know. Then they turn around and the owner of the place, see, his sister, I know her too. She basically had some time she spent up there at that house, and when she spent up there, some time up there, I guess it was sentimental reasons. I mean, I can understand you living back at your old home that you grew up in, I mean, live back there for a short period of time for sentimental reasons. I can understand that. No problem. I agree with it totally. But anyway, she moved in there for a little while, and when she did, she put curtains up there. Now, these renters took the curtains down, walking around in their house with no curtains in these windows. And these old houses had these big old square windows. And they were like windows you could raise up and down, as you could raise windows up and down on the sides. But in the middle, it was like just perfectly square. But on the sides, you could raise them up and down. And not only that, but then you would walk in the place. Okay. So a lot of this stuff was going on for a while. They were piling junk in the yard, bunch of weird stuff, which some of it I can't say because I don't want to get too involved in a problem where someone would say I was wrong. But the point to the story goes like this. Finally, they decided to move out of that house, go to a new place to live. Didn't tell the original owner that they had moved out until they saw him one day, and the good Lord, and I do mean the good Lord, he's probably the only one that knows the exact time that these people moved out of that house. But they moved out, and when they moved out, they didn't mention it to nobody until they felt it was right to do so. So they told the owner of the place what was going on. So then when it was my place to go in, get out what belong to me. Which, when you say belong to you, you mean, when you say belong to you, you're saying it could be your stuff or stuff that belonged to somebody else, but you were supposed to have it. Okay, so being it that way, um, I go in there and somebody else goes in with me, which is basically the owner of the place, his sister, which I know her and she's connected with me, so I'm not going to say any more about that. But we go in there and get out what we need. We find out there's things missing. We ask the owner about it, which is her brother, and he doesn't know. He thinks it's stored up somewhere. We look, can't find it. Kind of find out the people that rented the place took it. Okay, so now they're basically got to get out their stuff ASAP because somebody I know of is buying that house and going to give it to their grandson. So stuff's got to be out pretty soon. Now, the farm part of that land is now purchased by a different guy, different person. It's not affiliated with the person I know of and that person's grandson, okay? So it's not affiliated with them. And he seems to be a pretty nice guy. He seems to be the one that's going to take and do it like the original owner, which was the previous owner's. It's the okay, like previous owner. Previous owner would be, to my knowledge, the one that had it before his son had it. The guy in the beginning. Okay. Well, the guy that originally had all this land basically was an older gentleman, and he had these ideas of what he wanted to do with the land, and he wanted to do things with it. So when this guy decides to get the farm part that the older gentleman had, but he's buying it from the older gentleman's son because, well, the older gentleman's dead, so it's his son's stuff now. Well, when he's buying the farm part from the son, he's pretty much decided he wanted to work that land like the father of the son who owns the place would have done it. So I'm like, well, that's good because the older gentleman who had it the first time, well, I think he'd be pleased with the way that this young man or older dude, I've not met him yet because everybody else has. Now, he's been warned about my habits about, going by on the road blowing the horn at people, but what's wrong with that? I'm showing love to people because I love people. And basically, that's me right now in a nutshell. If any people that I mentioned see this video and they say you're talking about me, well, yeah, maybe I am, but guess what? I didn't mention your name, so I could have been talking about millions of different people. And don't you love it when people you make friends with take your friendship the wrong way, and next thing you know, it's like they always are there whether you want them there or not, and you appreciate them and you love them like family and friends. But please, folks, if you haven't made arrangements, you need to get numbers, you need to get addresses, you need to get info so that you know when you need to be in someone's house and when you don't. Just driving up in someone's yard without permission, that's like saying, holy mess, you could have called me. But then if they don't have your number, how would they call you? Let's see. Let's see if I do it like this, what happens. I don't see nothing but a mustache made out of hand. Two hands. Isn't that funny? I was trying to decide, but I bet you once you get used to me one way and say this is him and we accept him this way and we love him this way, it's going to be hard for me to change anything I do with my looks. But I know I don't do the best grooming. I've never been good. I can't even bend a hat right without it being off in the weirdo zone. But my point is, I'm not perfect. I never will be. Look, see here. See here, it looks all good. It's all screwed up, but I'm always screwed up. But we have to learn to take and accept people for who they are. They may not be perfect, but if they can make their unperfectness look beautiful enough for the Lord, then what's the big deal? But my point is, there's also, I know somebody right now. Here's another one of